So it looks like we are live. So welcome to day two. This is the art, kind of pushing the boundaries of crypto art with Krista Kim, Alexi Prefontaine, and Rio. So if you would like to all kind of start out with kind of a welcome on yourselves, an intro, kind of how you got into the scene, and then we can dig deeper into that as well, and then I'll finish off.
Awesome. You can go ahead, Krista, if you want.
Yeah, sure. My name is Krista Kim, and I've been a digital artist since 2013. I used to paint. I'm an expressionist. I apply the same sort of DNA of expressionism into the digital, and I create gradients. Basically, I created the Mars House, which is the first digital NFT house that sold last March. And my practice is all about creating a sublime and meditative experience through digital. I believe that technology should be used for well-being and for humanity. And so this is also a major tenet for my Techism manifesto. I created an art movement in 2014, and I'm very happy to be here.
My name is Aeforia. I'm a digital artist who has been working with many different mediums since 2014. Started out with actually mobile editing. So I was creating art on my phone, and over the years, I kind of just started stepping into some more developed software like Photoshop, did some photography here and there, and started to do more 3D focused work since 2017. I started my journey in crypto art at the end of 2020 by releasing different pieces of mine. And in the past few months, one of my series that is probably the most recognized is my 5-year series that I released on NFT Gateway in February. So yeah, I'm super happy to be here. I've been seeing the work of these two artists for a while already, and I'm super honored, really.
Excellent, thank you. And Rio.
Yeah, what up? My name is Rio. I'm a music producer and visual artist. I've been working with artists and brands for a while now, and just started to, within the last 3 or 4 years, make the move to being and considering myself an artist, moving out of creating content and live tour visuals. Worked with like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Travis Scott, and different brands and stuff like that. But I'm super excited about NFTs just because this is giving the power back to the artists, you know, and not having to wait for net 30, net 60, net 90, whatever, and just kind of, you know, finally just start to think about my audience and what they want to see from me, you know, and not just kind of like problem solving and fulfilling a brand's vision. I'm starting to kind of really focus on my own. So grateful to be here with these two amazing artists who I have relationships with outside of this. And yeah, I'm glad to be able to talk and learn some myself.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny that you say these two artists outside of this, you know each other. The community is as big as it appears on Twitter. It is pretty small in the grand scale of what's going on in this space. So it is pretty open community in that sense. And I know everyone's got their story about maybe how they got, you know, someone's opened their eyes to what's going on here. I don't know if y'all want to share kind of your aha moment or you know, who led you here or what led you to this space. And then of course you all saw the value as why you're still here.
For me, you know, there were two basic, things that led me to NFTs. First is that I just got really sick and tired of tech companies being too centralized in power, and data surveillance capitalism really pisses me off. And I don't think that it's right for people to have their data taken from them without any, you know, we need a data autonomy. That's a human right. It actually should be written as a part of our human rights code. Data is a human right. So, I then researched Bitcoin and Ethereum in December, and I discovered blockchain and I discovered NFTs. And then decentralization, crypto revolution, all of these major movements that are pushing us forward in the 21st century. I just feel that right now we're in this incredible period, and NFTs is really a use case for a decentralized monetary system, market system in the future that's actually going to bring a lot of, equalization of wealth in the world, which is what we need so that we have political accountability, that we have more democracy. So, as an activist for data autonomy, I'm pro NFTs. But aside from that, I actually believe also that NFTs, as Rio had mentioned, is a game changer for empowering the artists to lead in culture, create culture, become your own universe, apply your own vision into the world and show the world and make positive change in the world. So that's it.
That's so great. In my case, it was kind of a random thing that happened back in September. Probably most of you might know Gavin Shapiro. He's well known for his flamingos and his 3D works. Back then, he kind of approached me and he was like, "Oh, you should check that out. Like Super Rare and Nifty Gateway. It's a place where you can sell your works." And I was kind of like, "Oh, like what do you mean sell my work?" I was not used to this idea of selling my digital art, because I kind of thought about this the other day. Like the SoundCloud rappers. I'm kind of like an Instagram artist. As soon as I started creating art, I was sharing it on Instagram for others, and it was ready to be consumed and viewed by everyone for free for years. And to me, this idea of monetizing my digital art never really occurred to me. So I was selling a bunch of prints, but it was not enough to make a living. So I would always rely on client work and accomplishing someone else's vision, not mine, and this idea was so appealing to me that I just jumped in without doing too much research. I'll be honest, I was just appealed by this concept of selling my work to people who enjoyed it. And so, yeah, I just started posting my pieces on Super Rare, and it kind of started out from there. And since that moment, I just jumped in fully, and I started involving myself in the community, and I found so many people really, like in the past few months, especially in a pandemic situation, making so many connections in such a short amount of time was really precious to me. And yeah, this is pretty much how it started for me. It was really, really fast, like starting in September, and then it kind of grew so quickly. And yeah, it's been quite a ride, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. For me, it started where I joined Clubhouse in like August of last year, and I was just on there when there was like barely any rooms about anything, and it was just very interesting to me. And I started to see an artist that I look up to a lot, Kid Mograph. He started posting a lot about selling NFTs, and I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just made this much off the thing." I was like, "What?" And for me, I had an art show, like I think it was like almost 3 years ago now, and it was all digital, and I made no money. I didn't sell one piece. And it was, but to me, it was just like, I'm supposed to be showing my work. Like, it wasn't like Alexi said, it wasn't something that I thought like, oh, I'm going to make money off of this. It was like, I make my money making tour visuals and content for people, but this is sort of kind of like a free thing that I want to do, and so it was just right on time for me sitting in the house, and I've been playing with trying to learn new software and stuff like that just in the downtime, and then it took me a while to jump in, and I regret it because I remember being in the Clubhouse room when Beeple did his first drop, and he was doing the dollar drops and stuff like that, and I was listening in, and I even asked him some questions and stuff. But when the drop happened, I just kind of sat there and watched it because I just still didn't fully understand what people were buying. And now I kick myself every day that I didn't just buy one of them. But either way, like just watching more and more artists, I think learning from them, asking a bunch of questions, I kind of got my confidence up to do it. And in January, I minted my first piece. I'm one of those people that, like, when I go to the ocean, I go in the water like inch by inch, like slowly, while meanwhile everyone else running by me, just jumping in. And I realized, wait, what am I doing? I just need to just do this, get over the fear of that, that cold like hitting you. And so that was kind of like what I noticed that I was doing with NFTs. And I just jumped in and haven't looked back since.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I have to say on the Clubhouse, Clubhouse, I think spurred on some of this like huge wave we saw because the NFTs tips and a couple other rooms back in like December, January, February kind of kicked off. And at one time, like everyone was coming in asking the same thing over and over, getting on these platforms, kind of discovering the metaverse, like where it was being displayed. It was just you could see it because being here for 3 years, you watched it like very, very slowly. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, you can like, there's something brewing here. And it was very clear that we were going to see something like pop. Right now, I think we're going through some sort of correction or perhaps just a cool off where the hype is gone from the media and you'll be on like CNN and whatnot being picked up. And I mean, now is the time, I think, when building goes on. Do you see as artists anything changing or secondary sales becoming more important? Like how is the landscape and how are you navigating the way things are shaping up these days?
For me, I think that the next generation of NFTs is actually in the metaverse. It's all 3D. It's interactive. It's going to be AI programmable. I'm a global ambassador for Super World app, and we are like the global interface of augmented reality. So, I
have 50 properties. Sorry to interrupt you. I have 50
good,
properties.
Yeah.
I do totally.
You do? Brilliant,
totally.
Brilliant. I have property too. I've been buying up. You guys have to come join us, and it'll be amazing. We could do. Actually, Rio and I are already working on a project on Super World, and here's the change. We can actually now affect real world change through the NFTs, and you can do that with Super World. And how you do that is like we have, virtual plots of land that are mapped on top of the globe, and so people can buy an NFT of the plot of land. You could buy the Eiffel Tower, for example. But what we're interested in, we want to actually create positive change in the world. So Flint, Michigan, there was a lead poisoning issue of the Flint River. We are actually going to, sponsor the plots for this event. We have like 13 artists, and we're like blocking out 13 plots of the Flint River. And we're actually going to have the artist attach the NFT to the plot of land so that the buyer is not only collecting a work of art, they're also collecting the land, which is financing local nonprofits to clean the water and make sure it's clean, monitor, and also for the health and well-being of the community. So we're supporting grassroots level initiatives. I think NFTs going forward with art, I think you can really affect positive change in the world. And it's also going into metaverse, right? So AR, VR, and this is what I think is the future.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to fully agree right there. I think it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. I think these will be done in there with our avatars, with us speaking to each other more. That's going to be sooner than we think.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, for me, like this, I kind of agree with you, Steve, on this kind of correction. I feel like secondary markets and primary markets kind of slowed down since that crazy February, March period. When I did my release on Nifty Gateway, it was probably at the peak of this media attention. I think it was the same day that than Beeple's auction when it started off, and I feel like right now, like seeing how it kind of shifted so rapidly, it makes you think otherwise. If I can talk maybe about like the way you release NFTs, in my personal opinion, in a more like calmer period, scarcity becomes way more important to me because when it was so crazy, open editions were the thing, and now I feel like open editions are kind of not the thing anymore, because why would you flood the market when it's a bit slower than the usual? So for me, it kind of changed my mind about how I release my work, and moving forward, I really want to focus on creating like really limited editions of my work. And this period of time is also a great way to just focus, on the work itself. For me, I'm really happy to have had the chance to get some sort of like, how to say that, like I'm francophone, so like some sort of like support, from the previous releases, so I can focus on my work instead of having to rely on client work. So
Yeah.
in the forthcoming months, I'm just going to focus on my work, and I want to make sure it's the best that I ever create, and that is a blessing in itself. And even though it's a slower period, I can still navigate through this and just focus on the creative parts, and not worry too much about releasing every week, because anyways, it's calm right now. And as you say, right now is the time to build. So if you create metaverse project or just a series of classic 3D pieces, now is the time to create something meaningful and impactful, because there's no real rush to do it,
And I agree with you, because Nifty did kick off kind of that, the mass, like there was a mass flipping market. There was a kind of a rush to get these drops. I remember when Nifty was out there, every Tuesday they might have had a drop. Now it's, sometimes multiple times a day. And I personally liked it when they had the 1 minute editions. If you weren't there live connected with your wallet, and sometimes like in the beginning, there wasn't many people collecting these pieces or signed up for Nifty. So some of these editions closed with like 18 pieces. And personally, I know that's a very short window and it's very easy to miss it. But it just, if you were serious about it, you would have been there, and you know what I mean? You tried to be there that exact minute to get that. And I kind of wish they would go back to those very limited things. No offense to any artist, but when there's an opportunity to sell 7,000 of something, as a buyer who likes early numbers of things, you want to get one quick. But at the end of it, if you're like, oh, you mean that's 10 times more than I ever expected to be sold, and maybe wouldn't have bought it in that case, knowing that ahead of time. So it is a catch-22, but hopefully scarcity does become kind of a factor again. And that's why typically I think super rare has kind of stood the test of time. They're still very popular. A lot of buyers and sellers are that's their number one platform they want to be on. And it pretty much caters to one-of-ones exclusively. And that's where I would say that I do most of my collecting. And if I was to display my collection in somewhere, the majority of my favorite pieces would definitely be from super rare. So whatever they're doing is doing right, and that just goes to show that exclusivity. They're getting like very good price. They have an excellent collector base, and kind of touching on that. How do you guys? Because I know as a collector myself, I like engaging like Lucio, Carlos, Ness. A lot of the collectors, Slime, and everything else. I like talking to them one-on-one. They kind of show me a new piece coming up. They let me know what's dropping. Like I really like that connection with them. And I'm hoping and assuming you guys all have those with your collectors as well. But this has changed that game, because before you were supposed to be gate kept and not be kind of peer-to-peer engagement. And this is only about peer-to-peer. So it's a complete reversal, which I can see why creative, it's fantastic for everyone.
Yeah, it is. It is.
100%.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting that during the whole time of NFTs, there was all this talk that it's going to end, right? And it was like this threat that we felt like the Stargate was going to close. But the thing that I knew is that the mindset of so many artists had changed, where we weren't reliant on just clients anymore. Like there's these big stories of people selling things for hundreds of thousands or 70 millions and stuff, but I know personally so many stories of someone making just an extra $500 a month, and for them, that's like
that's freedom.
Like they can say no to certain things. They can, like maybe take their kid to a different daycare, or like just there's so many ways that this has like changed the way that now even someone like me, like being able to have confidence in myself and say, I'm an artist. I'm not just, someone that helps solve other people's problems. And that there is, even that concept of starving artists. It's like, what about, let's move up, minimum wage artists, let's retired artists. Like,
no doubt.
To develop this language, so that this isn't just this archetype of someone that comes in and struggles their whole life just to, to make it even, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, it is unfortunate to hear that the majority of artists throughout their lifetime, through like history has shown, that a lot of them didn't get the credit until after it was kind of too late to give them that credit. And it's nice to be able to see these younger artists. And if you sell it, and I bought some pieces even on Foundation that came out first. You buy it from someone in a region who's 18, and you sell, they sell for like $11,000, and they're like, oh my good God, like that's what my parents make this year in some cases, and they're like, you don't understand what you just did for me. And to you just bought a wicked piece of art from some kid who makes some killer art.
Exactly.
And you just sometimes you don't see it like that. And it is very cool. And these tools like decentralization and blockchain is the only reason why we could do that. So like we owe a lot to kind of what came before the NFT space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like this is a landscape where it's the rise of the creatives. You have to be creative in the decentralized world. If you're a bureaucrat, I think you'd better make a lot of friends with creative people and get behind creative projects, because that's the way the world is going to run now. It's not like the age where you have a large company, you can work there for the rest of your life and get a salary. It's not like that. The decentralized future is about getting people, groups of people who are actually creating solutions to the world's problems through a decentralized system.
Yeah.
That's the future.
And speaking of that, I guess we can start off, Alexi. What I guess platforms or protocols, teams, or different projects out there do you feel that are doing things right in the space and are kind of moving our space forward the way it should be moved forward?
Well, it's kind of I'm not I'm not involved in that project, but everyone saw the news yesterday with the platform that 888 released. From what I've seen, I feel like this is a pretty good example of what a platform that benefits artists could look like, especially with the 8.88% that is taken from the sales, but actually goes to help countries in need. I feel like a platform with a bigger mission that kind of sits on top of its core is quite interesting to me, rather than just like a platform just taking a percentage and that's it, and the idea that it's something that is kind of overviewed by artists and that it's a platform for artists is really appealing to me. It's seeing me. I hope it's going to be something like the artists curate the exhibitions and so on, and that might do a shift in like the content that's presented. Maybe we'll see a bit less of like brands dropping NFTs and just flooding the market, and just bring in meaningful and impactful projects. I always say these two words because they're so important to me, but it has to be meaningful. And if artists are curating these releases, I feel like it can be a real good step forward for the space. So that's one of the exciting projects that I've seen recently.
Any exciting projects that you've either discovered or utilized or have heard about that you're looking forward to exploring?
Yeah, I really like Zora. Zora has been one of my favorites because they take 0% and they consider themselves a protocol that other people can use. And with that said, there's a music company that's built on top of Zora called Catalog, and I just put out some music there. And for me as a musician, signed to a publishing deal and just going through the whole music industry, that's another industry that's going to be, shaken up by this, because, for so long you would have to, there's 0.002 cents per stream on Spotify, and you'd have to make 4,000 streams, a million streams makes $4,000. So it's like, there's people that are selling their songs as NFTs, making way more than that. Like, and having a collector and having people that really find value, whereas before I would have to find millions of people, but now I just have to find one or two, people that really connect with it. So, and I just really love what Catalog is doing. And for me, to speak to what Krista was saying, the future of this is the metaverse, because I consider myself a world builder, right? And because I make music, make visuals, I want to create the spaces that you're in. I don't want to just create some 2D thing that sits on the wall. For me, this is experiential. And I think that that's where the artists are really going to have the power, because no longer do we have to get permits, or architects involved or blueprints or get city permit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do any of that. We could just create it in our home and create the experience that we want to to share with the world. And I think that that's really where everything is going to change from here on out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Rio. That's such a great point. You know, like every organization, every artist, whether you're a recording artist or a visual artist, no matter what kind of creator, or even if you're a brand, everyone is going to have their universe in the metaverse and establish that. It's all about community building. It's all about like bringing your community, bringing them unique experiences, giving them your time, because time is the most precious resource that we have. So I think that's a really interesting sort of like development in the future. It's coming because AR glasses from Apple are coming like next year, right? So, you know, places like Superworld or even having a metaverse, like people are going to be seamlessly jumping from VR to AR, like quantum leaping, and it's a quantum lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of where both the decentralized and the centralized metaverses are going. You see Epic Games Horizon. Now Horizon's been sitting there somewhat idle with not much announcements for say 2 years. You know, Epic just put in 100 million for development. So you can see there's kind of a race for them to keep the existing model and the legacy kind of business model in play. Because I think if they understood this model, I think they would move to it. If you charge 15% on secondary sales for every skin, they'd probably make more money than they are right now. So as far as, you know, if they were to just have a mindset shift, I think it would just open so many doors and opportunities to them. Instead of making them obsolete, they could probably progress with us for the next couple of decades. But I think it's going to be, you know, a clear cut, kind of, you're no longer needed, you know, moving over here. And in the art scene, I think I read about with Chainlink getting into dynamic and whatnot. And I don't know if there'll be a period kind of, you know, pre-2021 where those are kind of the golden age of NFTs, and then we moved into, you know, where they were more interactive, more gamified. There was a lot more use cases with them. Do you feel there is going to be these periods, almost like comic books, where different things happen? There was.
Yeah, big time. But I think that people will still like in terms of like how you deliver the art and the medium of the art, like the actual visual context. I don't think that's going to be too much of a change, though. I do think we're going to have many more 3D assets, and quite frankly, in the NFT space, not everything has to be art, right? I mean, basically, what we're going to do is like just like we have tattoos that express who we are. You know, people are going to use 3D digital assets, meaning they're going to like have AR glasses. We're going to be wearing wicked, you know, digital fashion. We're going to have digital tattoos. We're going to have all kinds of like 3D assets, digital plants. I actually bought a bonsai tree, a digital VR bonsai tree to put in the Mars house in VR, because I have it in VR right now in spatial. You guys are more than welcome to join me too. I'll invite you. And I'm having tours. And so like I could put this bonsai tree on the table, my coffee table in the Mars house. This is the future of, you know, basically all these creative assets that creative people are going to be creating, not only art, 2D, 3D, but there will still be a place for that, obviously.
Yeah.
If from the traditional space, does anyone have any kind of stories or shed some light on what would be the biggest drawback with anyone in your circles who you're kind of, you know, like I do with Bitcoin and Ethereum, like you got to look at this. It's like the next thing. And, you know, for them, whatever, it's like that's nothing, or they don't understand it, or there's like that's a scam or see no value. What is the biggest drawback you think for people who don't see the value in this space? To me, it's very naive to think that way.
It is.
What is the kind of the drawback for traditional artists? Is it a lack of knowledge, so they just hesitate and want to just shy away from it because they're not comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of seems like whenever there's something new and kind of, you know, like it seems gigantic, you know, it seems like this thing that you cannot comprehend because it's so big, it's so like diversified, such a big network of knowledge that you need to get to know. I feel like when that comes in front of you, if you have no prior knowledge, it can be so scary that you prefer staying in that comfort zone where you just be like, well, I don't think I really need that, really, right? Everything's cool. I'm selling my paintings. I've got this exhibition in 2 months. That's perfect for me. But when those kind of big things happen, you know, like I was probably too young to experience like the mobile app period where like mobile apps just exploded, back when the iPhone released and all that. But now it feels like seeing what is happening now, it's kind of like it's re-happening again, this whole new thing, this new revolution. And to me, just not being interested and just choosing to ignore rather than just at least try to learn a little bit here and there is kind of like 2 steps backwards instead of doing 1 step forward. And so probably just this idea of being scared to try and learn something new is probably what holds a lot of people back. And I feel like as an artist, probably my goal is to, whenever I talk to a friend or another artist peer that I know in Montreal, is to just try to make it as simple as possible so someone can understand what it truly means to like release an NFT and what it means for their work. So all these little actions can have a really big impact down the line. So it's really important to make sure that people get to understand this in the easiest ways possible, even though it's incredibly complex. Even myself, I don't know the whole thing, but just knowing some very basic things can help you have a pretty good picture of what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree with Alexi. I think a lot of artists are just afraid of leaving their comfort zone. But I have to, it's a rude awakening because, the world is changing at an exponential rate. We are in the age of exponential change. So if you're an artist and you can't, cross, use other mediums, be multidisciplinary, then you should really, consider getting educated, right? And really look out there and see what's going on out there instead of living in your tunnel vision, because you're not doing anyone a service. If you're an artist, you're supposed to be expressing what's happening today, right? That's your job.
Yeah.
I've always, when people reach out to me on Twitter the odd time asking, like what you look for art. Now, this is my personal take, but we've been making still art for so long. I don't know if you have the tools to be able to animate or add some like movement or some liveliness to it. I just don't know why you wouldn't take advantage of that and shying away from it as a younger artist. That has maybe 30, 40, 50-year career ahead of you. That is, I don't know, a very naive move, I think, on your end. That's something that I would strongly recommend you reconsider, because not knowing and playing with these tools, if someone knows Cinema 4D right now, Render and a whole bunch of other platforms, they're very ahead of the game. And these days, with MetaMask and everything else, the decentralized tools at hand, technically you can be an 11-year-old doing that. You can be a builder in Somium space, making thousands of dollars a week, getting paid in ETH directly to yourself. Age is not a requirement. You know what I mean? I know it's a beautiful time to be able to be creative, because there's really no roadblocks. If you have the internet and a skill set, there's really no age requirements or like geographical requirements. And this is pretty much the first time that's ever been possible.
Yeah.
So as far as with yourselves, do you see in the future that decentralization will win out in this art, or do you see Sotheby's and Christie's, as we see now, that are very intrigued with what's going on, and now what was 5 years ago, we don't want that, now please come to us first, kind of mentality? Is this something that you think that will win out because of the deep pockets, or do you think decentralization, because by default it's better, safer and faster for us, that will win?
I just make a quick comment on this, because the actual traditional art world, and actually the art world in general, if you have a limited number of collectors, it's always healthier to have a broad range of collectors and to expand the collectors base, right? And so with decentralization, you're actually allowing that to happen, instead of concentrating the collectors in one group, and it's a small group. You can actually create DAOs. You can have fractional ownership. I think the future is all about sort of like allowing many people to participate in the market, and that's very healthy for the market.
Yeah, I think kind of what I was saying earlier too, it's too late to go back. It's now this idea of, being able to own something digital. These kids that play Fortnite have understood this for so long. You know what I mean? It's like, if you talk to someone that's younger about this, they're like, yeah, I get it. Like I think a lot of people that are a little bit older, it's like, the question is always like, well, what is it? Like, what is it that I own? Like, I don't have it in my hand, And, to speak to your previous question, Steve, it was like, the thing that I hear all the time was, I could just right click and save, and I own it. And it's like, well, it reminds me of when I was young, and you're walking through a neighborhood with your friends, and you're like, "Oh, that's my house," and someone's like, "Oh, that's my house," and you have these great ideas that you wish that you had it, but who owns the deed, right? Who really, has that piece of paper that says they own it? And with blockchain and it being better than a piece of paper and it being this thing that's unchangeable, I think that moving forward, like what Krista said, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to these different things that we partake in every day, but when these things move across the metaverse, you buy a pair of Nikes, and those Nikes come with the shoes that you wear that your avatar has. I think that we're already here. It's just now it's about the rest of the world kind of catching up and joining in, but it's going to make so many things, I think, a lot easier, and maybe there'll be a little bit more individual style when it comes to it now, because not everybody's getting their thing from one place. It's just like you find some person in Malaysia that's making the coolest clothes and nobody knows about them, and you're wearing them. Like, I just think it's inclusive in nature, decentralization. So that's what I'm excited.
Great. I wonder how the big brands are going to, this is what I predict. Big brands are going to rely on artists to stay relevant, because really, I think they need art to be integrated into, like, for example, luxury brand, like collaboration drops, okay? The reason why also is because we're entering into the crypto revolution. And as a woman, before, when I used to spend fashion fiat money, like I wouldn't even bat an eyelash paying $5,000 for a bag, okay? But now, if it's in Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'd be like, this luxury handbag is actually competing with Bitcoin now, because I'd rather buy Bitcoin, okay? So, because, imagine 5 years from now, what is $5,000 in Bitcoin worth, right? So I think that the only way that they can actually compete with Bitcoin is to actually create that value proposition of attaching the artwork to the actual luxury item and transforming it into a very rare, valuable piece.
Yeah.
What you just said, Chris, it's funny because mine is a little bit the opposite. Like, if I go to the mall, I'm like, this is $100. But if I'm online, it's like, oh, this NFT is $1,500. I'm like, click. It's like,
exactly. You'll buy it.
It's like, it's easier for me. I don't know.
Exactly.
Completely.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Only in the virtual worlds would someone drop like $20,000 on a pair of pants or something. At least you can resell them, and they're always mint, which is good. So if I know we only have a couple minutes left here, but as far as I know, maybe takeaways, what light would you shed on someone entering this space that would be good advice for them to be steered in the best directions?
Please.
Well, I'll go. I feel like I could say two things: stay curious and create meaningful projects. That's it.
I would say that if you are creating artwork right now, really study the platforms, and before you mint, make sure you mint your best work. Don't just mint anything, okay? And also, it's like, why not give to a charity, right? Or add them into the actual NFT. Try and get involved in projects for social good, because we have a unique opportunity, and if only NFTs can do that, we could change the world.
For me, I saw a question too of someone talking about making physical art or 2D. Everything is going to have its moment. Photography is starting to really get picked up. Traditional paintings being scanned. I think the 3D thing is intimidating for a lot of people. I see a lot of painters come in and they go, "Oh, I need to learn 3D." It's like, well, right now, people that have learned 3D have been kind of not overlooked for so many years. You know what I mean? And the highest thing that they could do is probably create visuals for like a tour or the Super Bowl or something like that. So this was kind of their moment to be seen. But I think all the other things are going to meet that. The fashion, the music, you know, the traditional painting, AR filters, all of that. So my advice is just don't get intimidated by what's popping. I did see like a thing that was done where they analyzed how much of the work was sold, and the highest percentage was 2D work actually. But it just seems like 3D is everywhere. So just like do what you do what you love to do, make what you want to see in the world, and find your tribe. There's somebody out there that's going to find value in it, and stay yourself as much as you possibly can, but continue to be open to the technology and seeing what your work could look like in 3D or whatever, but don't feel like you have to do that. So
Word.
Yeah. Agreed. Artist integrity is everything. Integrity is everything as an artist. It's who you are.
Yes.
You lose that, you lose everything.
Well, especially in this space, you know, for all the work you put into it, one small error, you know, could burn someone if it's not being honest and transparent. But yes, it was a pleasure speaking with the three of you. I would, you know, I'll gladly moderate anytime with the NFT Summit. Thank you all. Appreciate your contributions to the community. And maybe as a takeaway question, where do you find the most engagement? Would it be Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, Discord that you and your collectors touch base?
Twitter.
I like Discord. I like to hang out. I played Rocket League with one of my collectors, so to me that's the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Rio?
I'd say Telegram. My Telegram is popping. A lot of stuff happens in there for me, and Twitter.
Yes. Sweet.
Thank you so much, Steve. And
thank you so much.
You're very welcome.